One man who has seen the horrors of real tank warfare firsthand is ex-tank commander Fred Ropkey.
I'm Fred Ropkey, the Tank Baron.
Fred saw combat in the Korean War and was the first serious tank collector in the United States. Today, his passion for tanks is still very much alive.
Well, I really don't like to talk about how many tanks I have because I don't want people to know how crazy I am, but I have a lot of tanks, we have a lot of armored car, and we have a lot of tactical vehicles. It's just kind of a collection that got out of control.
After leaving the military, Fred turned his talents to business, making millions from his printing and graphics company. Today, he lives on his vast estate outside Indianapolis, which includes a private lake for his boats and even a runway for his aircraft. Fred's filled the property with military equipment, the same way some people might fill their attic with comic books.
If you lived in a condominium in downtown New York City, obviously we wouldn't be collecting what we're doing here. I think we have more than a lot of South American countries, and I think we probably control South America if we really wanted to.
Fred knows that it wouldn't look good if one of his tanks went missing, so he's big on security.
Actually, 9/11 was a focal point for all of us. When you're collecting this kind of aggressive military equipment, you're reminded that we have a serious responsibility. We keep our gates locked. We don't leave the gates open.
Fred's reputation means no one is going to mess with him or his collection.
Anybody that comes down my driveway, if they've got an ounce of sense, would realize that old Fred Ropkey is not exactly the guy you want to knock off.
Fred's days as a tank commander sparked a lifetime passion for military hardware. But his favorite piece is the M26 Pershing, the one he served in over 50 years ago during the Korean War.
Over here is one of my really favorites, is the M26 Pershing tank, which came along and really saved our butts during Korea. We went up against the Soviet T-34-85s, and we could defeat the Soviet with no trouble whatsoever, because this tank has heavier armor than the 85 did, and they were very surprised. Then a tank against tank, we came out ahead every time.
The real key to the Pershing's success was its massive main gun. It could fire a 24-pound high-explosive shell over 12 miles. The Pershing also had 3 machine guns used for attack and defense. They could take out infantrymen and small vehicles, but also defend against anyone brave enough to try to climb on the tank.
To keep the enemy from jumping on your tanks and throwing a hand grenade down somewhere, or a Molotov cocktail that they were using, gasoline with a burning rag and throwing in, you sometimes would have to spray your own tank, other tanks, to protect people from climbing on them. And the .30 caliber wouldn't put a tank out of business, but it would sure clean the people off of it if they were on there.
It's decades since Fred left the military, but stepping into his commander's cupola brings back the instincts he relied on to take the 46-ton tank into combat.
As a tank commander, you're responsible for your entire crew, the discipline of your crew, and the actual firing of the main gun, where the biggest threat always is obviously being hit or set on fire.
It may be 50 years since he commanded his Pershing in anger, but the horrors of tank warfare are still very much with him to this day.
If you want to disable it, stop it, you blow the track, and then you immediately put a round in where the turret hits the hull to jam the turret. So if the tank can't turn towards you and it can't move, you can take your time and finish it off.
Fred remembers all too well what can happen if your tank is hit.
But if a round comes in and can pierce the turret, good chance it won't go out the other side. It'll just ricochet around inside, and that's very deadly.
For Fred, tanks represent the horrors and the heroism of war. And his experiences of fighting in the front line have shaped his life.